Hey guys, I'm sure you are really happy to know that you're done with chapter 6 and that we're moving into chapter 7. Behind the camera we have Misam. Here is your teacher, Mrs. Sonia. And remember, one thing you need to remember is that the movie does not replace your own work, your own efforts. So you do have to go to page 318 and work through it on your own. Look at the examples, see if you can work through that on your own. And once you've done that, then you watch the movie. So if you haven't done that yet, close this movie and go back to the textbook and then watch the movie again. Okay, page 318, 320. That is the first section of chapter 7. We are now starting with what we call quadratic functions. And a quadratic function differs from a linear function in this. Here is my quadratic function, okay? And the important thing to notice here is that there is an x squared. A quadratic function has an x squared. So we call this a quadratic function. A linear function, on the other hand, never has an x squared. So this is the standard form of a linear function in slope-intercept form. Here we have linear function, linear. This is linear, no x squared. This is quadratic, okay? And we are going to focus in this chapter on learning how to graph quadratic functions and then later on quadratic inequalities. So we're going to do these two examples where we're going to graph a quadratic function of a positive x squared. This is positive, very important to notice that, and a negative x squared, and see how a positive x squared and a negative x squared differ. Okay? So, we set up for ourselves a table of values. Okay, so we say x and we choose, we pick. Later on you'll see that it's important that we pick the right numbers here, but for now it's okay to just say -3, -2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. We just pick numbers, okay, in order. And we write in here, do you see that we have what we write in this little block here is the little equation that we have here. We write it in there, and then our y value is here. So here is what we do, we say 3, and instead of the x, we plug in -3 squared. Okay, and we look for the answer. Now, -3 squared, we all know is 9 times 3, that's going to give us 27. That's a big number, so we might not even plot it, but let's look at this one. That is 3 times -2 squared. So -2 squared gives us, remember that negative is inside the brackets. Because the negative is inside the brackets, I square it and the answer becomes positive. So that is -2 times -2 gives me 4 times 3 gives me 12. Okay, and then -1, 3 times -1 squared. So that becomes 3. Okay, and then 3 times 0 squared, that becomes 0. And then when we go this way down, we'll see that if we work it out properly, we're going to put in 1 square, we're going to get 3 here. And if we put 3 and 2 square, here we're going to get 12. And then we go 3 times 3 square, and that's going to give us 27. Okay? So we have the table of values. Now we're going to just straight away quickly do the negative table of values as well, and without having to go through the whole process, otherwise it takes too much time of our movie, we're just going to say, alright, that's -3 squared. Now the thing is that's going to happen here is this is going to be exactly the same as what I have here, but because the negative is there, it's going to be negative. So it's going to be -27, -3 times -2 squared, so that's going to be -12, -1, and -1 squared, and that's going to be -3. And here, this is going to work out to be 0 for all 3. And then here, I'm going to have exactly the same, so that's going to be -3 times 1 squared, that's going to be -3 again, -3 times 2 squared, that's going to be negative 12. And then lastly, negative 3 times 3 squared, it's going to be negative 27. Okay, so here you can already see that there should be more or less a pattern here. Okay, now I'm going to go to the graph and we're going to graph it. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit and I'm going to discard the 27 because the 27 is a huge number and I don't have space. So I'm going to discard that because I just want to show you the general trend of what these graphs look like. So we're going to go 2, 4, 6 to save space. So we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12, and then the same this side. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Firstly, I'm going to now graph the first one. Okay, I'm going to graph this one. Okay, so what do I graph? I take this one and the answer here. That is when this is my first point. So I'm going to find negative 2. Okay, I'm going to find negative 2. So here is negative 2, 4, 6. So here's negative 2. And its y value is 12. So I'm going to go find 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 12. So there's negative 2, there's 12. There is my first point that I'm plotting. Now I'm going to 3 and minus 1. Okay, so that would be 3 for x.
No.
Sorry, 3 for y and minus 1 for x. So here we go. That's minus 1 for x and it's 3 for y. So my point is right here. Okay, and then the next point that I have is 0 and 0. So it's here. Okay, and then I'm going to the positive side where I'm going to have 0 and where I have 1 and 3. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8. This is plus 1, plus 4. Okay, sorry, I wrote a bit skewed here, but I have 1 and 3. So I'm going to go here. This is 1 and 3. Okay, and then 2 and 12. There's 2 and there's 12. Okay, so what do I have? Now I just follow the points and I neatly draw the curve like that. And this graph is called y is equal to 3x squared. Now let's see what happens when the x square is negative. There's a negative here. Take my table of values and graph it. So minus 2 and minus 12. So here's minus 2. Minus 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Minus 12. So I have minus 2 for x, minus 12 for y. And here we go. And then we go for the next one. Minus 1, minus 3. So minus 3 for y and minus 1 for x is here. The next point is 0. There is 0. And then the other side, when I plot it, will of course be, as you can gather from now already, it's a mirror image. This side is a mirror image of that side. They look exactly the same, they're just on opposite sides. So it goes down. Very important thing to notice is that this is y equal to negative 3x squared. So when this sign is negative, the graph faces down. And when the sign is positive, the graph faces up. And this is what we did in class. We said x positive is up, x negative is down, x squared positive, and we put our hands in the air. We know the graph is facing up. X squared is negative, our hands are hanging, it's negative. We're very negative about it because it's going down. Okay? negative x squared down, positive x squared up. Thank you.